call this meeting to order. So this is the Volunteer Fire Department Ad-Hoc Committee meeting. I've got a little after 6 o'clock on March the 24th. So let's see, any volunteers on vacation? Mr. Klein, thank you, sir.
Father in heaven, thank you for a wonderful day, a wonderful week. We ask you to give us wisdom as we debate a very important issue in this commission, that we need to fund these volunteer fire departments, and you know the best way to do it. We ask your blessing on that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, got approval of the agenda. Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, have an agenda. Approval of the minutes for February 10th. Got a motion?
Motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, recognition of the public. McLaughlin?
A couple of comments about the coordinator job description and qualifications. The last section, fire inspections, there's nothing in the qualifications saying that this guy needs to be certified as any kind of inspector or a time frame to receive the certification. Next is fire investigations. TCA 68, 102, 108 designated called assistance to Commissioner of Commerce and Insurance. And what it does, it designates the Department Fire Chief as an assistant to the Commissioner of Insurance and Commerce. The Commissioner shall be aided in the performance of the Commissioner's duties under this chapter by assistants designated in this section. Such assistants shall be subject to the duties and obligations imposed by this chapter and shall be subject to the directions of the Commissioner in the execution of those duties and obligations. Then there's TCA 68, 102, 111. Assistance to investigate every fire, reports demolition of structures beyond repair. The assistance to the Commissioner shall investigate cause, origin, and circumstances of every fire occurring in any city or place in this state by which property has been destroyed or damaged so far as it is possible. Determine whether the fire was the result of carelessness or design. The investigation shall be begun immediately upon the occurrence, and then it goes on to specify about the reports itself, how much time, and so forth. This section needs to be rewritten so that the fire coordinator acts as a resource for volunteer fire departments, similar to the arrangement with the state fire marshal. He should be called in to assist as we need for cause and origin. And then it also talks about arson in there. If it's an arson fire, we determine it's arson, it automatically goes to TBI. The sheriff doesn't have to be involved. The fire chief can pick up the phone, or his designee can pick up the phone, call TBI, and it's the TBI's ballgame from there on. And that's my comments.
Thanks, sir.
Any comments?
You got a couple minutes left, or you want to keep going? All right. Old business, funding ideas, we'll just leave that on old business. I think we're getting close, so,
Yeah, I still think we should figure out the cost before we figure out where the funding needs to come from.
I agree.
yeah.
Which I think we can make a good headway on tonight.
All right, and so then that leads us to our new business of the fire coordinator JBA. So with that, we'll entertain a motion of some sort.
I will entertain a motion that we discuss the proposal there.
Oh, about changing possibly the qualifications.
That's what we're gonna discuss.
I second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. So we'll open up the floor. Any discussion?
Yes. First of all, we need to add the fire inspector in there, because that was the guy from CTAS, I deal with CTAS, suggested that. Also, I think if we're gonna have a fire inspector for the county and a fire marshal for the county, we need to adopt the fire code. The county needs to adopt the current NFPA life safety code at least, and maybe the international fire code. In order for us to be legal, I think we're gonna have to adopt the fire code itself.
They're gonna have to have a standard to get to.
They gotta have some kind of standard to go by,
So I agree with that. For discussions of today, it's just a job description.
Yeah. Well, those things need to be added into that, but I guess what I'm getting at is you can't really have this person unless you got a code for them to enforce. So.
Yep, I agree. And I think as part of whatever recommendation we come forward with, that needs to be a part of the recommendation.
Okay.
But as far as describing or a job description of qualifications and duties of what we see this job doing, it can align to those codes. We just need to make sure that when we make the recommendation that we include the adoption of it.
You know, I think that's where Mr. Harris is coming from, is if that person is gonna be doing codes enforcement, then I can definitely understand why you would need those qualifications in there off the rip. For me, it really kind of depended on whether or not, because my understanding of the way that CTAS explained it at the last meeting was, we didn't necessarily have to make this person, as long as they were a coordinator, they didn't necessarily have to be doing building codes.
That's what I understand.
But especially if we're considering one of the funding sources being those fire inspections, to me, that you have to tie all that together.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, sir.
So, and the way I understood CCAS was along the same line, because this position, yes, is gonna be a coordinator, but as far as the general aspect of the public goes, it's gonna be a community risk reduction specialist more than anything. I mean, which is where the inspector does come in and doing that.
Define that, Chris.
So community risk reduction specialist basically is where, if we go localized, where this position gets all the reports and everything, you're able to start doing statistical data and find out, okay, we're having a large number, you can use that one for a large amount, okay, we're having a large amount of accidents at this location or whatever, something that that position or the fire department can handle, but at least it's there for statistics. But hey, we're having a lot of cooking fires, okay, so we start messaging, you know, a little bit more on the safety aspect to the general public through different mediums as far as that goes, is okay, cooking fires are kicking up, these are some of the areas, barbecue, you know, as this time of year kicks up, you'll start seeing that. So that's what that position does, is just reiterate those safety messages out.
Okay.
And it helps all of the departments on their ISO by having someone in the county that's specifically doing fire prevention and awareness, because they actually get points on their ISO for that.
Well, that's covered under this bullet point about develop and administer fire prevention education, so it's in there.
Do we have to call this a fire marshal? Can we not call it a fire resource authority, or?
Well, I think what he said was coordinator.
Coordinator.
I think coordinator's where we're gonna land, but I think that our CTAS representative talked about that.
Yeah.
Under the code,
You could do county fire marshal if he was gonna do the codes for sure.
yeah, I think
It's gonna be a liaison
yeah,
between the county and the fire department.
The volunteer.
That's some oversight.
Yeah.
yeah, I kinda see it maybe as a bit of a hybrid role potentially. You know, where there'd be some of that fire marshal responsibility, but not 100% dedicated, and a coordinated responsibility as well. So you've got some of the code enforcement or checking and whatnot.
That's one of the reasons why I was very thankful that you also included on here a fire instructor, which I guess you have to have instructor in order to have your fire officer one anyways. Well, you have to have instructor to get officer one, don't you?
Where's the instructor? I don't know.
You know, it's not listed
The
in
instructor needs to be added on.
Don't you have to have instructor one in order to be fire officer one?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a prerequisite. So in order for you to have, so it's pretty much on there, even though it's not. That was a big thing for me, was the fact that you would be able to have a coordinator that specifically is already certified to teach certain classes, especially the 16-hour and the 64-hour. I would really like them to be able to teach the first responder classes, which I don't believe is listed in here right now. And that's really only because of the fact that EMS for the county, they have to do protocol classes every 1 year, every 2 years. They have to do protocols in order for all the first responders at the fire departments to work underneath the doctor of the EMS director. So right now, EMS is supposed to be providing certain classes that honestly they have not been doing. And if the EMS is not going to fulfill that role, I would really like the coordinator to be able to do that.
So let's unpack that a little bit. So for that to take place, what qualifications would need to be on here?
You know,
So, in order to teach first responder, you've got to be a CPR instructor, you've got to have a medical license, and I want to say it's at least DNT basic, it may be advanced. And then there's a class that you got to go through the UT.
there's a couple.
I think it's UT or something. I think you do a 4-hour block online or whatever, and then you got like a 1-day class or whatever. But part of that is, in order to get that, you've got to show that you've got, and I don't remember the number of hours it is, of education, teaching, and everything. I mean, so it can be done. It's just, I don't know that I would put it, that's a dead set requirement up front as much as it's got to be obtained within a certain amount of time.
I can say that.
Just for everybody's information, I'm currently putting one of my people through the EMR instructor program so she can start teaching that class for us because there hasn't been a class offered in the county in a long time. She's paramedic with Robinson County, so she meets all the qualifications, so this person doesn't necessarily need to do that. They just need to be able to coordinate the offering of that class. So,
I can see that, yeah.
yeah, same thing with basic and 16-hour and all that. They don't necessarily need to be the one teaching it. They need to be the one making sure it happens every year, sometimes twice a year, because we have plenty of people to teach those classes within the paid and volunteer ranks within the county already. So, and facilities to use to get them done.
Okay.
I'm going to agree with Chief Edgerton, because you're adding a whole lot to one person, and it'll become a revolving door, and then nothing will ever get done if you start adding all of these things. You're looking for somebody to provide oversight, to look at data. What I'm looking at, I think it should be somebody who's going to look at fire codes for the county. So I think inspector within 12 months, if they don't already have it, is doable, because I've required that before. And then if there's not an adopted fire code by that time, I think it should be this person's job to come to the county and say, this is the code that I think would be the most beneficial to the county, if it's not adopted by that time.
So to be, like you said, inspector within 12 months, like what is the certification? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a certification you can get in the state of Tennessee, state of Alabama. That's a great one too. And then you're going to take a test where it would transfer between states. You just have to apply for your state license.
Get
Reciprocity.
Is this person inspecting the volunteer fire department?
No, this would be any commercial buildings, industrial buildings that are built in the county.
In the county.
Because
That's what you do in the city, right, you guys?
Well, my guys do for me.
Thank you, Mr. Schumacher.
So, were you done, sir?
I can't be.
No, it's not. You go right ahead. I'm just looking at, I feel like the qualifications should be split between minimum and preferred. To make it a little more clear cut, because I don't know what the budget's gonna be for this position, but looking at this, I think the average person that's gonna hit all those qualifications is probably not gonna want the pay that the county's gonna be able to offer. So at that point, like, the one, I marked a line under everything I wanted to bring up in question. One of them was current fire officer 123. That's hard to get quickly. So if they don't already have it, they have to work towards that. And like they were saying, to be an instructor, you have to be fire officer 1, so on and so on. So, and at that point, is that within the scope of what this position is really trying to be? We have fire officers, we have people handling incidents as they arise. Is it prudent for this person to have all that? Obviously, one side, yes, because they're going to understand what needs to be done, who needs to do it, things like that. But at the does that take them away from the main focus of what we're trying to get done?
So with that current fire officer 1, 2, and 3 certifications, that's for training purposes, is that?
That's just to start to say they know what they're talking about.
Incident command.
What you were talking about, there was a certification you just mentioned, what was that?
That was to be a certified EMR instructor.
Where's that on here?
That's not.
Okay, so we don't want to add that, is that what we're saying?
Right, we don't necessarily need to have that, we don't need, this person doesn't necessarily need to be certified to teach certain classes. It'd be a good thing to have, and you might find the right candidate that does have that, but, making it a minimum qualification starts to take away from the focus of the main bulk of the job. So that's why I'm saying if you have minimum and then preferred qualifications, that can be a preferred qualification.
I would even split the ICS courses.
It
feels like what we were talking about the last couple of months and what we're talking about today are radically different. I thought this coordinator was going to be coordinating the volunteer fire departments within the county. Now you're having him inspect or her inspect commercial buildings and training, and so is that where we want to go with this?
So that's packed. So I think the training and stuff, I think Chief is absolutely right. That part of it needs to just be a coordinator, not necessarily doing it, but just coordinating it. And that's where, hey, these are our hours, because the state has adopted a thing where they can get an incentive if they get so many hours and stuff. So we got one person pushing that and doing that, then that's one aspect of it. But again, it's just a coordinator not doing it. Same thing with the inspectors. The advantage to doing the inspections is that points towards ISO, which looks to dropping the ISO, which goes to insurance rates and all that other stuff that we talked about.
Which I would actually enhance the volunteer fire departments by having that as somebody's providing. The ISO ratings, if you'll recall all those ISO ratings that we've gotten, there's different elements on there that, boost the score, lower the score, and so that would just help raise the score for all of the volunteer fire.
But I see what you're coming from, though, because yes, originally, and that's kind of where I'm at as well. I want for sure a coordinator that's here able to help the fire departments ascertain where the capital funding needs to go, which trucks need to be replaced first, who has the oversight over the budgets that they're turning in every year, because we know right now the budgets have been turned in for years. This is probably the first time most commissioners have ever looked at any of these budgets. But they're provided every year. Nobody's ever looking at them. So just having somebody that's actually watching, I do feel like, especially if we need a funding revenue source to pay for that person or help pay for the fire departments, especially if you're trying to stay away from where everybody keeps talking fire tax and all these other things, that the fire inspections and the building code portion of that person's job title, that revenue that's available through that would heavily offset any cost that he would ascertain, which is, I think, kind of where they're wanting to do the building codes with the coordinator position. Is that right?
The only problem with that is that you do not have that many commercial properties being built in the county.
Correct.
To generate the revenue that you're talking about.
Right.
It's not gonna happen.
So really, you're going to be helping with it. Just starting and having fire codes is going to be a great benefit.
Yeah.
But as far as the revenue portion of that, you don't think it's going to come anywhere close to?
I don't think so. Not
Not at this point.
No.
We just don't.
You don't have that kind of,
residential.
residential is all you got going for you right now.
You might have some gas stations.
Not even that. I mean, I want to see us try to push to get more, because we need jobs in this county. We got 50,000 people we're sending out of the county every day to go to work. We could use the jobs. That means we need industrial and commercial buildings, but that's not, you don't just do it and it happens. It takes a lot of work.
Lowering the ISOs will make it cheaper for those people to come in.
Well, yeah, but except that I'm hearing from insurance people that the ISO is less impactful all the time to insurance, and the insurance companies are changing their thinking from using the ISO to rate insurance rates to something else.
I think the ISO rating that a department gets still ends up in order for you to get a lower ISO, you have to say that you're responding either quicker or you got more people there, which generally that means you're going to have less loss on that house. So I think it all still kind of goes together.
I just know, I'm with farmers, and they said, yeah, we're kind of dumping that whole theory that the ISOs is what we rate the insurance.
That is, when we called around, farmers was the one that just literally, they were pretty much the only one at this point that just completely dropped it.
Yeah.
They go all off with the zip code and what the losses were in the zip code.
Agreed.
My concern is, we seem to be, there's a tendency here to overcomplicate this job. I think we talked about it at the beginning of it being a coordination position, the possibility of it evolving into possibly a larger position in the future. Could be 10 years down the road. I'm reminded of something my father used to tell me. He was in the Army career. He was a command sergeant major E9. When he retired, he was a top non-com at the battalion level. And he used to tell me that when you're up to here in alligators, sometimes it's hard to remember that your original job was to drain the swamp. And I think that's what we took on initially, the idea that we were going to try to quell and coordinate the issues that we're currently facing and not develop more issues to pile on top of this person. It's my opinion that a fire coordinator, given the types of things that we've talked about, the types of things I'm hearing from the fire chiefs that I'm visiting, is going to have their hands full as a coordinator. If we need to bring this person on to conduct inspections because that's where the revenue source is going to be, I'll tell you right now, I think that's way above my pay grade. I don't think that the sheriff's position was incumbent upon his ability to generate revenue, or whoever heads up the road department, their ability to generate revenue. They found the money someplace to pay for those positions. And that's what I would prefer the direction of this committee and hopefully the county commission be, to take a look at this as a position that needs to be funded. And there's going to be people above my pay grade who are going to decide where that money is going to come from. But if it's incumbent upon us finding sources of revenue, I think that strays away from our original intent and goal of this committee. So I think that we need to focus on what we originally set down to do. In all candor, some of the stuff I gave to Mr. Witt. He asked me to put together some things from my experience that I thought would be good job qualifications, and I focused more of it on what it would take to be a fire chief. Now, Mr. Harris made a good point. He's in the city of Gallatin. He's in charge of code inspections. He doesn't do code inspections. He has people who do code inspections. And so, at some point, I think this position of coordinator, if that becomes something that needs to happen at the county level, it's going to be that person to identify someone to do that job as opposed to this person taking it. If you think about the incident command system, what's the first thing they teach you about the incident command system? You want to try to maintain control and the span of control. And if you exceed the span of control, then you're into the span of out of control. And the types of things that we're talking about now, adding on to this position, we're rapidly moving into the span of out of control. I think this person is going to have their hands full just getting started and just developing relationships with fire chiefs and determining the needs for these departments to be able to continue to survive. And some of them are telling me that, we're talking about maybe not being able to provide a service, within a reasonable future. And if that's what we're looking at, then we're overcomplicating it.
agree. I think the core purpose of this position is to help fill in gaps and help me and the other fire chiefs accomplish more, get to where we need to be, and serving as that central point. And I think the first bullet point under job description about developing and maintaining relationships is where we should be focusing the majority of this position's responsibility, because we don't have, I know Joe doesn't, it's hard for us to be within these circles of developing these relationships, because we have other things to, I have a full-time job that I'm at and everything else, so that's this person's whole role and responsibility. That's going to be the main thing they'd be doing, especially in the first couple of years.
Because we were talking about relieving you guys of a lot of the paperwork and stuff, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's still got to come from us. I mean, that person, we're still going to have to furnish it to them, and they're going to package it,
Right,
and so on and so on. But having those relationships with EMS, EMA, Sheriff's Office, ECC, things like that, that's important. And while we can do that on our own, it's going to be a lot easier for this person to do it and work in the same hours. That's where, because they're around during the day, during the weekdays when those people are at work, and that's their whole job. And then
I can see where they might go hunting for grants and, working with Ken Widener.
That's one where I'm struggling with some of the qualifications, and ever since it got posted, I've kind of went over it. My struggle is some of these qualifications would 100% come in handy 5 years from now if it gets to the point to where this fire coordinator becomes a county fire chief or takes over some zone of their own. Right now, the position is not going to be an incident command position. They're not going to be on a fire scene running the call. So some of these things, Officer 2 and Officer 3, I can definitely see maybe wanting to have it within 24 months or switching it to, like he said, where it's a preferred position. If you've got the certification, it's great for it, but it doesn't necessarily need to have it on day one.
Yeah, like if we were going to have a fire marshal, it seemed like that would be under codes, under Marshal Wright, or in his department, wouldn't it, Ben?
You would think, yes.
Yeah. So, that's a whole different animal. I see this guy being paid to work with the chiefs and the volunteer fire departments, help with grants, help with 501c3 compliance. Are there meetings happening the way they're supposed to? Is all of that kind of thing.
Everything legal.
Yeah, all that legal, and maybe he also works with a marketing firm to help, bring in the money. I still believe that once I understood where the money needed to come from, that's when I started upping, my contributions. And I'm like 10 times what you think you need per household. We're thinking $50 a house per year. That should be nothing for anybody in the county to pay. But I'm going 500, because I want to make sure Southeast is covered.
Sure. When I mentioned fire inspector a while ago, the only reason why I did that is because the gentleman that came from CCTech recommended that.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Yeah, and he did.
And
he did want the dot code.
Yes. I agree, this person should just be a liaison between the fire service and the county commission. They should be at their disposal to do the paperwork, to help y'all with the NEPA's reports if needed, basically to be a lobbyist for y'all.
Yeah, I think so.
I had no intentions of dead on. You're right. We don't need to worry about instructors but now eventually, I think we're going to get to the point where we're going to need that person to have his inspector. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I think the gentleman from the state suggested inspector, because it gives you guidelines in the ISC, NNFPA, what they're looking for in order your, levels of officer 1, 2, and 3, that's management levels in the fire service. That helps you.
Okay.
But that's it.
Okay. Chief?
I'm gonna double down on the inspector, and I agree. It is coordinator first. Don't think that a fire inspector is gonna hit every commercial industrial building in the county in a year, because they're not. One person's not gonna be able to do it, so maybe they're looking at over 3 years. But what I'm looking at as, you want this person to be involved with county codes, so that when the industry does come in, there's a seat at the table, and we're not starting behind the 8 ball already. It's also somebody that's working, and this is not necessarily going to be a 40-hour, standard 40-hour week person, because if you're trying to cultivate these relationships with people who travel a lot, who are, have other jobs, so we're looking at a guy that's got to work, or a person, sorry, nights and weekends. Going to be a lot of not necessarily normal office hours. But maybe, because I can tell you some of the most dangerous buildings in this county are convenience stores. Because people don't get in there a lot to say, hey, this suppression system where you're cooking the fantastic fried chicken hasn't been checked in quite a few years. And when it catches on fire, that damages a small portion of the community, right? Because, hey, look, I know what the little store New Deal meant to my family growing up. So if that happens, so you're just trying to get in there and do a quick inspection. If it's a bigger building, you want to do some type of pre-plan. Maybe you can work it out with a couple of guys at the volunteer department that covers it. Say, hey, we're going to go do a pre-plan. We're just going to walk through and see what they do. Because they're open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Nobody else could make it 8 to 5. They get in there and look at it. Oh, we had no idea that you stored all your propane tanks back here. It's for their safety in the long run. So I say you keep it in there, and it just gives you that foothold. I don't like the term fire marshal, because then all of a sudden you start getting into necessarily law enforcement powers, and their first job should be to coordinate and cultivate those relationships. But their first job is also to take care of their people, and part of that, and I'm sorry to you two on the end, man, codes is boring. Nobody wants to do it. It's boring. It can get exciting. You can get excited.
When you get too old to fight fire.
It is, I agree.
Is there any entity in the county, or in any of the counties, that would, like the Dollar General on 25 in Castilian Springs?
That's a good example.
Does anybody?
No.
There's no inspection.
And after they get their CO to move in, to start doing business, they never get another inspection.
Really?
Some of our biggest problems inside the city of Gallatin, I probably shouldn't say this for this recording, but is Dollar General stores.
Really?
Yes.
So one thing I'll say to the committee, just as a reminder, is I don't necessarily think that we need to solve for today's problem. We need to look at what is it that we're wanting for tomorrow, and that's what we need to be working towards. Like, and I feel that's Wes's perspective, is that it's like, let's not just solve for like one thing. We're doing this. I don't be back doing this again next year or 2 years from now. Try to figure it out again. So, what is the state that we want, and let's plan for that.
Well, it's like Mr. DeGroot was saying. When you're up to your neck in alligators, it's hard to remember you want to drain the swamp. The swamp is getting enough money for these guys to have their parcels. I love the idea of, making all the commercial buildings and every residence in the entire county safer, or as safe as it possibly can be. But that's not the objective of this committee. We got to give them money or find out how we can do it. And the coordinator is one of the things that would make them more efficient, so that their dollars would go further.
So we've talked a lot about qualifications, and I almost wonder, based on the discussion, if it would almost make sense to jump over the qualification for the moment, and let's just go through what's currently on here on the job description and see, is this what we want this position doing? And if not, strike it, and then we can build the qualifications based off of what we want that job doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So, just
job descriptions, particularly for the fire chief's role. Descriptions of what they're currently looking for. They're not necessarily tied to a certification, but based maybe more on experience. You could ask for people that have X number of years in a command position, as opposed to someone. Here's, I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around here. The importance of having this exposure to this knowledge that's in the fire officer training and the ICS courses is that you need to be able to speak similar language to the folks that you're going to be working with. It's one of the things that I have enjoyed immensely going on and talking to and meeting fire chiefs is I finally get a chance to sit down with someone who speaks fluent fire. I retired 20 years ago. That fell out of my life immediately, and so it is a language. It is a lifestyle. There's terminology in there. If somebody says to you, "Yeah, we had fire last night, and the IC failed itself, the division blah blah," you need to be able to participate in that conversation. I don't know that necessarily has to be a certification in ICS 700-800, however high it goes. But it could be something that's described as experience, command experience, as opposed to certification.
I think that's covered in the top one there on qualifications for the most part.
So let's do this. Let's just go to the job description, put in a bullet, all right? And let's make our edits there, and then we'll come back once we land on this is what we want the job to be. Then we'll come up with the qualifications in line on that. Is everybody agreeable to that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We may even come up while we're discussing the bullets, what that bullet would require, and that'll build our qualification better.
Absolutely. All right, so first one, develop and maintain close working relationships with all Sumner County's volunteer fire departments, emergency management, emergency medical, emergency communications center.
No brainer.
That's got to be there. Everybody in line with that? Yep. Any edits?
You're at the first bullet? Okay.
Under job description.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so we're good there. All right, next one, administratively coordinate support and planning activities of the volunteer fire departments, including but not limited to assessing and strategic planning of operational equipment needs, regular medical and fire training opportunities for volunteers, evaluation of station placement and staffing solutions to achieve optimal coverage, verification of current certifications, insurances, aid agreements, and required reporting under Tennessee state law, and facilitate ISO audit improvement strategies.
Strike number 2.
You do not like the regular.
Well, if it's just coordinating and making certain that they get it, that it would.
Will.
I'm going to catch some slack for this, I already know. Sorry. I understand the point where they were talking about coordinating the trainings as opposed to teaching them. One of the problems that I have seen is that you may have someone that's able to teach a EMR class. You might have someone that's able to teach a 64-hour class. You don't have the same instructor regularly, and then you're still either the fire department themselves are having to pay the instructor, or that person is volunteering their time. If they're teaching a 64-hour Firefighter 1 class, or basic fire class, that means that instructor is spending 64 hours of their own free time for free to teach this class. I really feel like if we're going to have a coordinator, I would at least like them to have instructor 1, just because of the fact they should be able to help teach a class. I can see the EMR maybe coordinating that with EMS, because EMS really is supposed to provide some of those services, especially since they expect the fire departments to respond on those EMS calls. But at least on the fire side, I personally would like to see them at least be instructor 1.
All right, anybody else on that?
I'm going to add to that, because if you go to assess and strategic planning of operational equipment needs, which is covered under your officer 1. So I think in that whole next bullet there, the whole administrative coordinating and all the 1 through 5, it needs to include officer and instructor 1 in there, which covers both.
Well, and as far as the qualifications, yeah, I just mean as far as the job description, I would like that person to be able to help train some of these. Say there's a person that calls out and they're teaching a 64-hour class and they're having to miss 2 or 3 classes. At least them having the ability to step in. I think that should be, especially if we're talking about some $60,000 to $80,000 a year job, they ought to at least be able to have Fire Officer 1, which they have Instructor 1 if they have Fire Officer 1.
And I don't know what Fire Officer 1 entails.
The easiest way to describe it is Fire Officer 1 is pretty much you're running your own 5-person team at a fire scene, like a lieutenant or a shift commander.
But that's a hard thing to get, is what we said earlier.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Normally, lieutenants on a full-time department, generally they're the ones who, they have to have Officer 1 normally to get a lieutenant or captain position, am I right? So, Fire Officer 2 is more of a minimum chief officer. That's the person who's going over more off actual departmental stuff, not just fire scene operations, but still very much in operations as well. Officer 3 is generally multiple departments, more of like a county-wide IC command situation. But once again, when we're talking about this person in particular, they're not going to have any zone on day 1. They,
so
they're not
1
going to
is
be,
a basic thing. 2
1
and 3
is
is a lot more involved.
Yes. For me, there's a lot of people that have Officer 1. Especially when you get to Officer 3 and 4, I think there's like 1 or 2 people in the entire county that have Officer 4, and probably not but a dozen in 2 or 3 counties that have 3. So you're really constricting your pool when you get up to those higher.
All right, so let's bring this back in.
Sorry.
The question on the table is, do we leave this regular medical and fire training opportunities for volunteers? That's the coordination of, I know we're talking about the, actually facilitating the fire side. We can include that in there to some degree, but.
I want to agree with Mr. Harris, delete number 2, because he should be doing that, this person will be doing that based off of number 1 and number 5. That includes the medical and the training. I mean, they're going to be.
You think so?
Yeah, that if this person's doing the job that we're saying we want them to do, then trust me, you're not gonna have to tell them to do that. That's part of the planning of strategic planning of operational needs. Training is going to be number 1.
Okay.
What I want this person to be able to do is to determine the needs from the volunteer fire chiefs and then to prioritize them. And if in his conversations with various departments he finds out that they are not maintaining their EMR, I don't know what certifications are in Tennessee, but we were required in California to maintain EMT level certification, and paramedics in my battalion needed to do their CEs, and as a battalion chief, my responsibility was to determine the need. Are my paramedics meeting that need? If not, it wasn't my job to make sure that they did it. It was my job to tell my chief above me, here's my need. In order to accomplish this, I'm going to need someone to come in and relieve this person so they can go do that class. So that's what I see this coordinator doing, is determining what the needs are and then prioritize. It may require additional funding. It may require, I don't know what it may require, but I need this person to determine that and determine it countywide to the betterment of the volunteer departments. I don't necessarily need this person to be the one to step in and provide that training. Maybe down the line they do. But right now, we're just trying to determine what the needs are and then prioritize them.
Okay. All right, so, Mr. Harris, did you want to make a motion? There's a motion to strike number 2 on bullet point 2. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so I know we've already had some good discussion on that. Any other discussion on that? All right. So with that, all in favor to strike number 2, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we're going to strike number 2. Okay. Now, are we good with everything else on there? Grant proposals. Okay. All right, bullet point 3, explore, coordinate, and aid with grant proposals.
Yeah, that'd be one of the best ways.
Yeah.
So reason why. Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I think that's a core primary.
That is a core.
Okay. All right, 4.4, identify opportunities to make recommendations for standardized tools, equipment, and supplies while leveraging economies of scale to include but not limited to common tools, equipment and supplies, reporting and notification software, group insurances, grant liability.
Is the tools something that this guy should necessarily, it seems like the chief's job.
Mr. Fine, I'll let Mr. DeGroot speak to that.
Okay.
That was one of his recommendations that came through. I think his reasoning behind that will let it make sense.
One of the challenges of a large metro department is that, I can only speak to the department that I came from. We have 35 engine companies and 10 ladder trucks. And we covered 212 square miles. The challenge for us was not only knowing the areas that you covered, but also if I arrive at a fire and I'm second or third due, it wasn't in my area, so I'm not the first one to arrive. I'm the second or the third to arrive. I'm probably not going to use the tools or equipment other than my personal protective gear. I'm going to go to the engine that's closest to the fire, and I'm going to go take tools, and I'm going to go to work from there. And so the challenge for us was to standardize the placement of these tools so that I would know on any of my 35 fire engines, I knew where the pig-headed axes were. I knew where a foam eductor was. Whatever tool that I needed, we just standardized it. We also found in our department that some engines and some department or some engines kind of freelanced and decided, well, we're going to modify this tool to do this for us because this is what we need in this area. And it was something that other people in other areas were unfamiliar with. But if it's good for this station over here, then the department's view was, well, then let's see if we can standardize that so that everyone has the advantage.
Okay, that's classic coordinating.
Yes.
So, yeah, okay.
That's what I was getting at when I made that point, was that this person, as well as prioritizing the needs, can start to coordinate and standardize some of the tools.
Same thing with SCBA, air packs people use, there's different variations, fire hoses, it's a lot easier for all the
connectors, all that.
Yeah, I understand now. Yeah.
I think the main thing, the takeaway there is make recommendations. I see the value in standardizing. I think whenever you do a large purchase, if we're all buying air packs or hose or whatever, we can, as it says here, economies of scale, take advantage of that larger purchase, maybe get a better price. Fantastic. If somebody somewhere decides we just absolutely flat out refuse, that's fine. Because the difference between a paid agency and here is if I arrive when somebody else has seen it and I don't have my apparatus there, I have to ask, can I use this? It's usually not a problem, but, I can't just grab. So I'm, totally fine with this. It's just, I like how it says make recommendations because there will be some that will say, Joe, he uses weird air packs and he probably won't want to change, but that's fine. We'll just know Cottontown has weird air packs on their trucks. Are you still using ISO? Yeah, and weird air packs. So, but yeah, so in my opinion, totally fine.
That's, we're good? Yeah. Everybody's good?
Yep.
All right, let's check it out. All right, next up, so develop uniform reporting and accounting policies to reinforce taxpayer transparency and fiscal accountability.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, administer standard personnel alert messaging and call data collection systems for volunteer response within the unincorporated area of Sumner County.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Everybody good there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Establish minimum levels of training and competency for all volunteer personnel and administer uniform methods for tracking and reporting.
I'm assuming he would do that in conjunction with the chiefs, right?
I would almost change his establish minimum levels, to coordinate those minimum levels, because
Yeah, they're already
that's already
established.
established by state law.
Okay, so
Make
coordinate.
a motion on that.
Yeah.
Motion to change the word establish to coordinate. There's a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You said exactly what I said, was gonna say.
Okay. All right, outside of that change, we're all good there?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, okay. All right, next up, analyze and establish optimal dispatch and response procedures.
I think that goes along with the next one.
Represent Rural Fire Protection and ECC Committee. Yeah. Those are, you sound those are the same essentially?
Yeah, go, isn't that, dispatch is ECC, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're already doing that as a group, but now you have the weight of this person's position to actually hopefully get some of this implemented, because we can ask all we want, but it's just up to them whether or not they're actually gonna do the changes we wanna see, so.
So do we want to leave that bullet point in?
I'm good, yeah.
Leave both of them in?
Yeah.
All right, so there again, there's the word establish, so we're good with that word establish.
Well, that solidifies it according to what you were saying. It's there already, but he would ensure that everybody follows it, I think is what that word establish means.
They have what they've requested, and then there is what dispatch is doing, and they're two different things right now. They're not,
Oh,
so yes, it would be very beneficial to have somebody to try to actually enforce what
So
they've already voted on doing.
establish is a good word.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're all good there, all right? So those two are good. All right, so coordinate programs and initiatives for recruitment and retention of volunteer firefighting staff.
Yep. I agree.
Yep.
That's one of our biggest problems right now.
Yep. All in alignment? Head nod, yes, maybe? Okay. All right. All right, next one, develop and administer fire prevention education. So this is the analyze fire trends within jurisdiction and create aggressive public education programs to decrease the occurrence of injury, death, and/or loss of property from fire. Number two, evaluate current county rules and regulations regarding fire-related issues and make recommendations to accurately address these issues to the appropriate county body / function.
So I'm gonna ask a question that's probably gonna go to either you or Chief Thornton. So we hit a dry spell, and the county needs to go into a burn ban. Currently, because we don't have a fire marshal, that has to come to the Department of Agriculture, is that correct?
Yes.
So would this number two change that to where this position would be able to make that recommendation to the mayor?
I don't think that would be the job of this person,
Okay.
because he's there again, he's gonna be a liaison between the fire chief and the county.
Only for
He's
county.
not there to make decisions as far as what y'all, yeah.
How to operate?
The county would have to be in the fire business
Yes.
and recognize this guy,
Yeah.
the county fire chief, to be able to say, we're doing a burn ban. Otherwise, it's up to each individual fire chief in their jurisdiction.
And they're gonna be directed by the state anyway, anytime they have a fire ban, so I don't think we need that.
That's what I'm saying, do we need to strike that?
I think so.
Motion to strike two.
Second.
So strike and evaluate current county rules and regulations regarding fire-related issues and make recommendations to accurately address these issues to the appropriate county body function.
Yeah, it seems like that's out of his jurisdiction.
So that would fall more into, like, I can see that as being, is it the adoption of the fire code?
Yes.
That's what, so we're saying that's off?
Well, for right now, I mean, we may need to come back to that.
Well, for instance, right now, the state has, you have to get a permit between October 15th and May 15th. That's established at the state level, and if we did have a drought, I'm sure that, the state would step right in and say, no, nobody's burning the fire at all.
Well, and they do have the ability to just do it themselves.
We could
with
change
the
the bullet point to, rather than develop and administer, we could say something like, determine or analyze the need for this.
And I like that better.
It would still be within his purview, because it may be something that the volunteer chiefs are saying, well, we need this, we need something like this, maybe not all of this, but, here's what we're finding. We're finding a trend of certain types of fires and we need to do something to try to educate the public, well, then it could be this coordinator's person to gather that information and to determine the need for that type of a program.
So there was a motion and a second on striking number 2. Mr. DeGroot, did you want to make an amendment to that with what you just said? You'll have to repeat it.
Could you say that again?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, we got to put it on today.
No, I would support the motion to eliminate number 2. And I guess I don't know if it would be a separate motion or amend the motion to change the bullet point to say, analyze the need for fire prevention education program as opposed to development.
So
Okay.
analyze the need for fire prevention education?
Correct.
Okay. So we've got a motion and a second. This is the amending of removing of number 2.
Number 2 is still coming out, just changing the bullet point to analyze the need for it.
Correct, yeah.
He's better than me.
Just remember, we only have to ask.
All right, so we're going to strike development, administer, and replace with analyze the need. That's his motion.
Yeah.
All right, so any other discussion on that? All right. Mr. Harris seconded that. I did. Yeah. All right, so all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that passes. So those words are replaced and number 2 is struck.
No, that was the amendment, wasn't it?
Oh, that was, yeah, I'm sorry. Now we're on the main motion. To strike number 2. I apologize. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I understand what we're saying about burn bans. But if you start identifying, if this person starts identifying anytime we have a structure fire in this area of the county, we don't have enough water. And that can be addressed in the fire code. We're taking that person's ability to say this. And as Mr. Chairman, as you said, what do we want, not what is it today? So I think there's a fine line right here. It's going to be frustrating when all I can do is identify these are our problems. I'm not able to bring anything to the county, but I've identified the problems.
Yeah. I don't see an issue with leaving it in, but if the body wants to remove it, that's fine. I like it being there for the fact of for the code reason in and of itself. And if there's a better way to say that, to where maybe it narrows that, or better defines that to where it's more of that code related, then by all means, let's entertain it.
I like number 1 the way it is. Number 2, I can see what they were talking about. But I like number 1 the way it's already written.
Well, and 1 we're leaving.
Yeah.
The motion was to remove 2, but the chief is saying that. So let me ask you a question. If say the water is the problem, and that has been a problem, especially up in Oak Grove and places like that, what would this position need to do that you don't, I guess is what.
This would come, and it would probably come before the county commission or through the various committees and get to the county commission. So
he would, as the liaison.
So right now, for this example, and just this example, we're needing a hydrant that gives 1,000 gallons per minute, and all we've required is 500 gallons per minute.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do going forward is, if anybody's looking to build or anything, hey, we've got to have something to get these water lines up to this. And again, that's just going to be his recommendation. It will be up to the governing body whether they wish to adopt it or not. This person's done their job in identifying and saying this is, the fact that it says make recommendations to accurately address, then it's up to the governing body. This person is not gonna be able to be like, this is it, this is how it goes.
Okay, I can see what you're saying, because it's just making recommendations. Well,
That seems like that would be within his liaison, I mean, it seems like it would
then
go
we
with the
should
person.
vote no on, because then we have to get rid of the amendment,
Or
right?
just make an amendment to leave two in and still leave the changes analyze the need for.
Well, the amendment's already been voted on now.
The amendment, so if
If we wanna leave two in, we can make another amendment to leave two in,
okay,
okay? And then that way we just read, analyze the need for fire prevention education, and then,
Well, Mr. Chairman, shouldn't we just vote on the amendment, and if the majority votes no, then that would leave the amendment, then number two stays in? If we vote yes,
we have to come back and redo the analyze the need piece, we wanted to reword that on the first, because it's a minor at this point. So, we can go about it either way, but, let's not do. We haven't voted on it yet. Yeah, we can always come back and do the amendment again.
Okay.
Yeah, so, if we want that, so, is there any discussion on removing number two? All right, so, all in favor say aye. Any opposed?
No.
Say no. No. All right.
so we're leaving two,
Leaving two, all right.
and the amendment passed.
Now, well, that all failed.
Oh, that all failed, okay.
So now, if we want to change the develop and administer to analyze the need.
That's a new motion.
We just need to make that motion.
Okay.
That was Mr. DeGroote's motion, was it not?
It was an amendment to removing number two.
It was an amendment to my motion, that's why it's
Yeah.
a little confusing.
So, yeah.
Yes, we have to make that amendment.
We just need to make the amendment again, vote on that again.
We just need to make a motion,
Yeah.
so I make a motion
I second.
to remove develop and administer to be changed to analyze the need for.
Okay. All right, and we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Williams, seconded.
I'll be more verbal next.
Yeah, all right, any further discussion on that? No, all right, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, okay, so now we're good to go. All right, let me make one more note. All right, so next bullet point, perform fire investigation in unincorporated areas of Sumner County, investigate where required by law, structure fires and other hostile fires to determine origin and cause, assist with the arrest and conviction of those causing arson incidents, and develop public education and engineering solutions to prevent additional fires.
Motion strike.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that one?
So, isn't this what Ken Widener does?
No.
No. Don't you ever say that. Okay, so who does that now?
Fire chief.
The fire chief does that, and you want to keep it that way?
With the assistance of the TBI.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't mind if that was changed, remove the subheading to just assist as needed with fire investigations. So,
Is that your motion?
yes, that's my motion. So I'm not studied up on those.
Okay, so we already have a motion and a second to remove it, so you can amend his motion.
I'm gonna second that.
Okay.
So, discussion, I guess, whenever we're ready for that.
This process is terrible. I don't like it.
We'll get through it together.
This is another committee.
We will get through it together. All right, so say that again. What was your?
Assist fire chiefs as needed with fire investigations.
Assist fire chiefs as needed. So we're gonna strike perform, and then insert assist fire chiefs as needed with fire investigations in unincorporated areas of Sumner County. Okay. All right.
Investigation is one of the three things all these chiefs have to do.
And we're striking the subway underneath that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion on that? Yes,
So
sir.
are we wanting to make a part of the requirement that they have an investigation experience or certification?
No, because the assistance could be as something as, hey, I'm on a fire scene, can you reach out to TBI, or hard to get anybody to actually come out and check it out.
Okay.
So just for clarification, we're getting rid of perform,
Correct, the words perform struck.
and then, assist fire chiefs as needed in fire investigation. Okay. And then who said something about a bullet, remove the bullet?
So the number one underneath that,
Okay.
I think there also was one to strike that language as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, everything's pretty well engulfed in the help assist as needed.
So we wouldn't need all of the stuff underneath
So
there.
we're striking all of one.
All of one, and sub-bullet
Okay.
underneath that, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's TCA code that
Right.
chiefs how
Okay.
responsible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna strike all that.
Any further discussion on that? No? All right, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. All right, so the amendment passed. Now we're on the main motion. We'll just vote again. It's all the same stuff.
Motion.
His was the original was to strike it all.
Oh,
The amendment
sure,
was to
sure.
replace
Went
the
down
words.
and over and down again.
Right. So now we have to come back over.
Ready to
All right. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, so that is done. So we're good there. All right, last one, we have on here, fire inspections. Work with Building and Codes Department to ensure all plans are in compliance with the adopted fire codes and include adequate fire department access, adequate water supply access, and fire flow, developing a unified corrective list of deficiencies in pre-construction plans. Number two, conduct and supervise the conduct of inspections during construction for compliance with adopted fire codes.
I think that's all gotta go away.
You can't have it without adopting fire code.
Right. Yeah, and, we go over this in planning commission, and then it's administered in planning and then goes on to Marshall Wright. So I think we can strike the whole fire inspections.
That's your motion?
That's my motion, to remove all fire inspections.
So everything under fire inspection is stricken. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so any discussion on that?
I have an amendment
Yes, sir.
that we only strike item 2, item 2. The building, working with the Building and Codes Department to ensure all plans are in compliance with adopted fire codes and blah, blah, blah. That probably needs to stay in there, I think.
And it won't take effect until the code's adopted anyway.
And
so
that
that's
way,
future
if we
thing.
ever adopt the codes, it's there.
Well, there is a state fire marshal, and we don't have a county fire marshal. And so we have chosen on the planning commission to use some of those codes, and we've sealed them in stone here, and others we have not, because we don't have a fire marshal.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
At what point did they adopt those codes for you to enforce them?
Well, for instance, there's a code at the state level that if you only have one entrance into a development, a PUD, you cannot have more than 30 homes in that PUD.
But what I'm saying is the county has not adopted that code that you're describing.
Yes, we did. It's in our zoning code now.
It's not
You
in the fire
voted on it.
It's not in the fire code.
We
Because we don't have fire.
we don't have a fire code. So
he
we've
can-
adopted it in
What
the building
I'm
code.
saying though, there's a chief over there, maybe he will, maybe he won't. If you don't have that fire code adopted, I don't think that's enforceable.
It's gonna be hard to get somebody from State Fire Marshal's office to come out.
Yeah.
And a lot of your plan review, you'll be surprised how many you send down there, and if it doesn't meet certain thresholds while it's under their review, they just say, we're not gonna review it, send it back.
It's up to
And
local
so-
jurisdiction.
And so then, it would just come back, and if there's nobody here to say, hey, I'm gonna look at it, and as good as the codes department here is here, fire codes is a different thing. They look at different things than what your normal building inspector. And up in the city of Portland, we work with our building inspector, but he has his things, and fire codes has their things.
Well, and we on it at the planning commission level, is what I'm saying. That's where we adopted it in zoning codes, no more than 30 homes, when you only have one point of ingress and egress.
I understand that, but if you do adopt fire codes, who's going to enforce that?
Well, it's established in the development plan in planning and engineering.
I understand what you're saying.
And then,
So Mr. Klein, I don't know if the amount of the off base here, but, I think Chief Ford, whenever he spoke earlier about like the flow rates on fire hydrants in areas,
right,
is the planning commission looking at that?
yes, we are.
Now, who enforces that?
If the planning commission says, no, you've got to have fire hydrants there, then they have to run a 6-inch minimum line and get 500 gallons per minute at that fire hydrant, and you got to have a fire hydrant every 1,000 feet. And that is a requirement of the planning development.
And so I'll just bring up if there's a convenience store built in the unincorporated area, and they're going to serve food, so they have to have a hood suppression system.
Okay.
Who witnesses that test?
That is outside the requirement, because that would be a building code thing. That's outside the requirements of the planning commission.
I think that's where they're getting at, is evidently that's not within building codes enforcement, and it's not within your planning ability. So in an occasion like that, if you didn't have a fire code for it, there's nobody to.
Does the health department not?
No.
They don't, huh?
No.
I don't see it as a bad thing. I don't see this as a stepping on toes in any way. It's just that extra layer of, again, we're looking at that fire protection and what do we want it to look like. I think that's a good thing to include.
Yeah, here again, I'm trying not to overload this guy.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna have plenty of work to do. I don't know that he needs, I don't know that we want him getting involved in plan check.
And I think that's where we're covering on that, is once adopted. So until this position's built up to that point where, okay, we've got the groundwork for the coordinator flowing, it's going good, this position's now, or, okay, we've got the position that we can now build out a second person that's going to do some more of it, whether it be the training aspect and then some inspectors or whatever, then, okay, now we need to adopt the fire code. This is already in the job description and the JPAs of it. Now, on the state fire marshal's office, just tidbit, so they will only look, and Chief's 1,000% right, you can send all you want down there, but if it's not an assembly occupancy over 300 people, or it's not a daycare or an educational occupancy, they won't touch it. It's outside their purview.
Outside the state?
Outside the state fire marshal's authority. So, and Chief, I'm going to pick on your district for a minute. Oak Grove's got the Oak Grove General Store out there, and it's just like Chief said. It's got, they do a phenomenal fried bologna sandwich, but they have a great hood suppression soon, but nobody checks it. They may have a third party come and inspect it like they're required to, well, they may not. I just know here.
But nobody checks on it.
But nobody checks to ensure that that's done.
Right.
So, and I know here, I don't know, a year or so ago, they put up, our hood will be down for X amount of time because of maintenance issues. Well, if that's where a fire starts, that puts them in risk because now they're running in, so the more that, but once it's adopted, I think that's where the key factor comes in on that.
Yeah, I just want to keep the departments, I want to make sure we're not, crossing like a spider web. If this coordinator is, working with the fire departments, I'm just concerned that now we're getting in martial rights hair.
Again, this person ends up, this is somebody that Mr. Wright can go to and say, hey, did you know there's a 50,000 square foot industry coming in to the Bethpage area? And then this person can say, no, I didn't. Let me know when the plans come in. I'd love to look at it because it's just now in the talking phase. And then they can go talk to the chief in Southeast and say, hey, this might be coming. If this person wants this job, I would be very surprised if they didn't want this ability.
Okay. Well, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just raising a red flag that I see could be people stepping on each other's toes. I don't know. And Ben, you and Chris would know that better than I would.
Stepping on people's toes?
Yeah. That's what you do at the city.
Oh, I don't step on anybody's toes.
I just step where he tells me.
I just tell him he'll step on their toes.
So you don't see a conflict here. Okay, all right, well, then I'm good with it.
Okay, so our motion on the table is, strike number 2, is that right? Yeah. All right, I just had a lot of conversation, so, okay. Any further discussion? All right, so all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed, okay, so, that was the amendment, so now we're back to the main motion, which is just about the exact same thing again.
Motion, second.
Motion and a second, so all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that's good to go. All right, so that leads us back to, we've got our job description. Let's talk about qualifications.
I like number 1.
Okay. Do we want to take a brief moment?
5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Yeah, let's take a little bit of a recess. 5-minute recess, make sure people see the restroom in there.
Obviously, I don't have an issue with that. I need to be okay with that. I'll just have it. And then drop to 5 or stay to 5 or even drop to 3. I don't have an issue either one there. I agree with this because I agree with what Chief said. At least somebody's done it, can have a conversation. This require maybe 1.
Yeah.
Prefer 2 to 3. And 3, I don't even know if it's needed at all for this position.
Right.
1, 2, 7, 8 is gonna be a requirement. 3 and 4, they can go. Those are command, or even just go all together. Those are just, I mean, those are command level classes. This isn't a command level position. And then, I don't even know about these, like the experience in arsenal. I think it can probably go all together. I mean, it's based. And then inspector, still know within 12 months or immediately.
Within 12 months, I think. 12 months. Yeah, because that's not gonna be the priority when they get done.
And then, very last bullet point, any combination of education, certification, and experience.
I know that's your baby, so you've done these before.
Just don't.
So, yeah, don't cut it out.
Don't pigeonhole yourself to looking for a unicorn.
Right,
Not exactly.
that's my biggest worry is.
And there's not a dollar amount on this too. This can look good, but then if you come in with
$50,000.
$50,000,
It don't look great.
I'm more worried about the person that's coming to apply.
Yes. Now, if it comes in and you vote in there 70 or 80, then, it's a whole different.
You might have somebody that's retired and looking to just, I would like to be a part of it, but I don't want to actually go do the job. But they might not have all of this, but just through the interview or just looking at a resume, you might sit here and go, wow, they'll disqualify because.
No, yeah, I mean,
Because we had a bullet point that said.
you must have this X. And if CTAS comes in and does this, which they should, that gives them the ability to, any combination.
You know I wasn't talking about stepping on toes.
What? No, I mean, I don't know what I heard.
I was floating over here. I mean,
I was like,
I was a bad one.
No, I just don't want to have departments crossing over into areas that.
You got to create a great office friction.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's what I beat me to it, but like standardized toolkit, I thought, good luck.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the coordinators, they're still working with 9 different departments. Y'all would change stuff, they got shit.
I don't know what you're talking about. We want this. Oh, yeah. Now, trying to place things on the truck, standardized is not going to happen in 10 years because there's too many types of trucks and everything. It's just not possible.
The chief said,
Maybe we can rely on experience.
if you show description. You gotta have their permission to get their equipment.
1,000%. I mean,
Yeah, I'm all about standardizing, but, you know, you
man,
gotta
if
be
the
careful.
county said, hey, we're gonna buy everybody a brand new set of education equipment, then cool, let's buy the same stuff across the board.
So whatever you get to do, hose, I mean, okay.
But no, I mean, I don't. You tell me, Sam.
Yeah, over the pharmacy.
What do you think that needs to look at salary wise?
Doctor has sent a prescription in.
We just did the job description.
Picked up.
I mean, we can sit here and spit numbers all day long, so. But I do agree wholeheartedly, it's not gonna be an 8 to 5. It's just not possible.
A lot of nights and weekends.
I mean, there's chiefs meetings and everything else, and I'm,
Nobody in an administrative position in the fire department ever worked 40 hours.
now,
That's considered minimum.
especially when this starts.
Of course, going back to that, thinking about a larger city.
Okay.
You can't just go grab this stuff off everywhere. You know, what do you do?
Pick up their description from last year.
Yeah.
All right, let's come back into session. Let's call it second to order. All right, so what we want to do now is go ahead and start going through these qualifications. So we've got our job descriptions lined up. Let's start talking about the qualifications we'd like to have that align to those duties that we just went through. You want to go down the list again, or who?
I'll just, we kind of said it had a sideball. The top one I don't have an issue with at all. I don't know if we want to leave it at 10 and 5 or drop it 7-3. Because again, in Chief's words, there's not a dollar amount assigned to this, and you also don't want to, how'd you say that about getting a unicorn?
Yeah, you don't want to get it to where you can only hire a unicorn.
Yeah, but I don't think 10 and 5, I don't think that's out of the realm.
So 10 and 5 is reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Firefighter 1 and 2 is a no-brainer.
Hang on, Chris. Everybody's good with number 1, the first one? Okay, let's just check it out. No, we don't have to go back. Okay.
Firefighter 1 and 2, I think, is a no-brainer. I mean, that's your basic firefighter certification. Like Henry said, you got to at least be able to speak the language.
Okay. Everybody good with that?
Yep. Yes.
Fire officer 1, 2, and 3, I'd strike 2 and 3 to start with, make 1 the requirement.
Yeah, I could see recommended to have, or preferred to have 2. I don't think 3 is necessary because they're not going to be an IC immediately, at least for the first several years. But I could definitely, current officer 1, I think definitely need to have. 2, I can see being preferred. 3, that's whatever y'all want to do with it.
So we want to make a motion.
I'd make a motion to to strike 3 and put 2 as preferred.
So a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that? All right. Make a note here. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Move on to the next one. Chris?
I see it's 1, 2, the next 2 can be combined, and just strike 3 and 4 altogether. So 1, 2, 7, 8 are presidential directives, no Risky Fire Service at all. So any applicant's already going to have those, and then 3 and 4 are honest, so we probably just strike it because it's going to be required. Do you think it needs to be in the chief?
You have to have it in order to have firefighter 1 and 2.
You have to have any of them, yes.
Yeah, so it's just redundant then.
So the NIMS, ICS 7 and 800. So the NIMS, ICS 7 and 800, that's already included in.
1, 2, 7, and 800 are all 4 included.
Okay. And
It's the same way I feel about instructor 1. It's not, you have to have instructor 1 to have fire officer 1, so.
Gotcha. So this is already included in that officer 1. Okay, so. And there is
Strike both of those bullets.
Right,
a
strike.
motion?
Yes.
All right.
Second.
There's a second. So any discussion on that? All right. No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, strike that. Go for it.
Experience in fire department administrative functions. It's a very blanket statement.
Vague, I like it.
good with that one?
Yeah.
Alright. Chris, you wanna read the next one?
Experience in fire department emergency operations. First one, they strike it. If you've got 10 years experience, you've got experience fire fighting.
Let's
Yeah, throw that in there.
There's another vague one that we like.
Well, it's a vague one I like because
Let's leave that in there.
it makes them explain. They have to give you an answer of how they were involved in emergency operations, and they
Okay.
weren't just on the department for 10 years
Right, correct.
as a voting member and never did anything.
Yeah, because there are people that just do administrative side on volunteers and do not do operations. Can be exclusive.
Okay, so everybody's good with that one? Alright.
Experience in arson investigations.
I don't have a problem with it, but
I think we struck that to just being able to help them, so I mean.
Yeah, I here again, it's a little.
liaison.
Yeah, I think you're expecting a lot more than.
I would strike it. It's a very specific.
Strike it.
Strike it.
Strike it.
Is there a motion?
Motion to strike it.
And a second. Any more discussion? Alright, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright.
Is there any?
To add fire inspector 1
Okay.
or fire inspector license,
Fire
however.
inspector one's the only thing the state recognizes anyway, so.
So we want to add,
Do they have to have that if they're not requiring them to be able to do? Kind of going back to what Mr. Klein was talking about earlier, if they're not going to have to be doing those responsibilities on day one, does it really need to be a qualification on day one?
If they really found it was important, they can get a class on it or.
How long does it take to get that certification? Can you require it within the first 12 months, 24 months?
It's 2-week class.
Yeah,
So,
it has a written, open book test, and don't let the open book fool you. They're not that easy.
Okay.
You hear them laughing?
I tell you, my professional career, that was the hardest test I took.
What's that?
That was the hardest test I took in my professional career, was the fire inspector.
Chris, that was a motion to add
I
that.
have to say
fire
it's easy compared to what the NFPA is. I did the NFPA and it was bad.
So motion to add fire inspector 1 certification, is that right?
Yeah. Within 12 months.
Within 12 months.
I mean, at least then it expresses a desire that it needs to be something that is achieved.
Alright, is there a second?
Second.
Alright, any discussion on that?
I'm good if you guys feel strongly about it.
Okay. Alright, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, okay.
I'm good.
See what I'm saying, things.
We've been asking for this for like 12 years. We're just happy to have it.
And I was gonna say, this is further than we have ever gotten since I came on the county commission originally in 1990, trying to help the volunteers. This is the furthest we've ever gotten.
Good, so let's do this right quick before we jump to them back too much.
Is there anything else wants added?
Is there anything we need to add? So I don't know if we can peruse through here and just think through these and, so the relationship piece, I honestly know that there's a qualification and certification you need to have outside of just being in the community.
I will just say that our biggest, here again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get more money for the VFDs. It would be really helpful if this person had any kind of marketing experience. I don't know how you require that. I'm not a marketing person.
You can add another bullet point, any combination of education, certification, and experience that can articulate the above. And so that's where they could be like,
Put it as a preferred.
not necessarily preferred, just if they can articulate, you get somebody who is retired from years ago, and they have something that's just called Firefighter 1, but they don't have Firefighter 2, but they have 30 years of experience. Are you gonna knock them out just because they don't have Firefighter 2, even though they've got more experience and that certificate just wasn't offered?
Or they've got 8 years, the other 5 of it was volunteer, but they have a bachelor's in marketing. it's standard on almost any job description anymore, is any combination of skills, whatever above.
Chief, can you repeat that?
No, you're supposed to write it down.
Oh, sorry. Good job.
Oh, let's go back.
Any combination of the above, as far as I know.
Yeah. Combination of education, certifications.
Hang on.
Sorry, talking fast again. EDUCAT.
Okay.
Education, certifications, and experience. That can encompass and relate to the above.
He's done this a
You
few
need to learn that too.
He watches these meetings.
Great on promotion things too.
Yep.
All right, is there a second?
Second. Do we just suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend. Okay, what you got?
Is this the point where you need to have a driver's license, a high school diploma, that sort of thing?
No, we suspended
What's
the rules
pretty
for
much a
that.
gimme.
Pretty making session.
It's a great question. And, I think it's an assumption, but I think that
No, you need to put it.
a lot of times.
You're right.
You're right. No, you're not wrong, so, yeah.
Isn't there like standard county boilerplate language for any job posting that would go out?
Well, we don't have an HR department.
No. So,
I'm open.
all right, so let's come back in session. Thanks, sir. Let's come back in session. So we've got a motion and a second on the chief's statement, addition. I'll repeat it. Any combination of education, certifications, and experience that can encompass or relate to the above.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so now, we had a great suggestion.
Make a motion to add energy reservoir.
Minimum requirements, boilerplates, such as high school, driver's license, that type of stuff.
High school diploma or equivalent.
Let's see.
United States citizen.
Yeah.
Do we want a resident of Sumner County?
Sure, for mileage thereof. Let's narrow it down as far as you can.
No, I wouldn't put Sumner County because, it could be somebody that's lived here and then moved or any number of things.
So U.S. citizen, driver's license.
Valid state issued driver's license. That way you don't just make it Tennessee because you got somebody right across in Kentucky.
Well, this is somebody that's appointed by the county mayor, am I correct?
Yes.
So,
High school diploma or equivalent. Do we want a college education of any type?
I
we have so many that, it's almost a different path. It's almost like a trade path. Electrician might not have a college degree, but
That's in that blanket statement.
Any combination.
Education certification. That's where they get to throw that out.
Okay. Anything else? As a qualification. Okay. So, I'll make a motion then to add as qualification U.S. citizen, driver's license, or valid state issued driver's license, and high school diploma or equivalent. Adding those three qualifications. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right. Gentlemen, I think we have us a JPA here. So do we want to vote to formally adopt this as it is, or do we want to review next month the final clean version?
I think we could go ahead and adopt it.
Okay, just need a motion.
Motion.
Motion to adopt as amended,
Second.
seconded. Okay, any discussion? All right. All in favor favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, so this, JBA is adopted by this, ad hoc committee. So, all right, I think that leads us to essentially our last item before we adjourn. We'll talk a little bit about next month's meeting. So, I'd like for this committee to move more into that evaluation of the equipment, and let's start talking dollar figures to get to, okay, what is it we're looking at as far as the funding need? So, I think there are some things that we were still needing to get there. Curtis, you mentioned that there was a model that you had.
Yes, I have a model that I've already used in other counties to determine what the cost of a fire station will be as far as utilities, insurance, cost of trucks, things that have to be replaced under an FPA. So like you have gear that's only lasts 10 years. So generally what you can do is you can figure out how many numbers of sets of gear you need to have for a department. Say they need 30 minimum members in order to meet their 5 people on a fire scene 80% of the time. So you figure out how many sets of gear. That's 30 sets of gear has to be replaced every 10 years. You know every set of gear costs what, about $8,000?
I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Jacket, pants, boots.
$5,000 for full system.
All right, so $5,000 times 30 times 10 years. So you know you're going to have to replace 30 sets of gear every 10 years. So then you can extrapolate what that cost is going to be.
Right.
Same way with the fire engine. If you know it's going to cost about $750,000 now, you know that NFPA says they're supposed to be replaced every 20 years. You divide $750,000 by 20. You know you're going to have to put this amount of dollar value into this department every year in order for you to keep up to 20-year-old trucks. And so you can figure out a lot of your costs just by going through that.
So, Curtis, what are we missing to get everything plugged into that?
I think we have all the departments in reporting now.
Yep.
So it's just putting the spreadsheet together
in
and
the next few days.
Okay. All right, so here's the ask for next month. That will be our item of discussion. Okay. Once you get that put together, if you can, distribute that to the committee members so we can all
Look at
have
it
that
in
preview and
advance.
look at it and digest, and we'll have that to discuss next month.
Okay.
Okay?
Is that going to be April 7th?
That's like 2 weeks, yeah, or 3 weeks.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 weeks out. We'll be right back. So, listen.
Before we do, I'm gonna do my standard, make a motion to suspend the rules. Chief's got anything to say, they showed up, we should, if they've got anything to add.
Motion, a second.
Motion and second. Chiefs, do you guys have anything that you would like to, any comments, questions, concerns?
I'm okay, I appreciate you leaving a little bit of the fire inspection stuff. I think that's gonna go a long way in the future, but.
I think something you gotta think about also is you took out something with an arson investigation, but you're wanting them to assist the fire departments in the investigation. They need a formal certification. You just can't really do it and say, hey, I got this, or I'm not gonna get this. They gotta be certified, just like your inspector has to be certified. Your civilian investigator has to be certified as well. And I was designated of all the departments for a very long time doing their investigation. And I had that whole the certification to do that. Not only being a law enforcement officer, but also being a certified fire investigator. So you have different classifications. You have IWI, which is a very hard one to achieve and to maintain. You have NAPI and you have different ones. But you can just stipulate that if you're going to be assisting, if this person's going to be assisting with the fire departments, they have to be certified. Now, most people probably will be. Most fire chiefs is the fire chief or their designee who does that investigation. And it falls back through TCA, like you often said. What's your payment bill this person too? You're asking a lot for that person to do. A lot for that person to do. And 60 and 80,000 is not going to be enough for somebody that's going to do that job. It's not. So that's the thing to think about. That it's going to look at. But funding is going to be your biggest issue with the fire department. As Mr. Clyde says, you got to figure out, okay, we're wanting to get more money to the fire departments. How do we do it? That's still an issue right now, regardless of whether this person's in place or not. But most of the fire departments need additional funding to survive and to do that. And to just pay insurance, to pay for things. And volunteers I get hurt in my paid job, who's gonna pay my bills on that? Yes, we have insurance, the advice helps us with workers' compensation insurance, but people don't want to do this anymore. And so over time, you're gonna have a lack of response. You know, looking at funding possibilities of paying people to be there during the week, it's like, look, one did, like y'all did for years at Portland, right? You had people that were paid to be there, that responded through the week or whatever, and eventually over time, you was able to hire people that could be there, at whatever time frame y'all thought about, but we gotta think of the future, people not want to volunteer. We've got departments in the county that are not responding to calls because they don't want to or they're at work. Kind of hard here today, because people at work, you've got to pay them, it's pretty fast. So when they come home from work, they're really willing to go help their neighbor, but they can't, they're not there. So your citizenry expects people to respond to their emergency. Thank you for that.
I have one just to make sure, I'll put this on the video camera just in case. The fire chiefs are having a meet and greet on April 2nd at Highland Station 2 on New Deal Potts, the new station they just had built. If there's any other county commissioners or candidates that have not already been invited, please let you know. You're invited 6 to 8, April 2nd.
Awesome. All right.
That was in our emails too.
Yeah.
All right, so one last thing.
Motion to